And again, thank you very much. I bring you probably the most intelligent African American you'll probably listen to on TV to give us an overview of the United Nations. And I'm just going to be quiet and let you continue.
Okay, Ivan, you keep setting me up like that, but we want to show a slide of Kofi Annan, the current UN Secretary General, and as a way of leading into the ongoing General Assembly session that is taking place. Now, over the last few days, a lot of news has come out of the United Nations. We know that Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez referred to U.S. President George W. Bush as the devil. And it was actually worse than that. He complained that the stench of sulfur still hung in the air at the podium, and then he genuflexed, which is, of course, a folk Catholic way of fending off Satan. So Kofi Annan definitely has his work cut out for him at this General Assembly session, which will be his last. Kofi Annan is the second of his 5-year term is ending. So within the next few months, there will be a new Secretary General of the United Nations. Now, if time permits, and I don't know that it will, and if you want to ask me a question about how do I think Kofi Annan's term has been, I'll try to go there.
Okay.
But let's just stay with this, calling George Bush the devil. Now, we have to recall, and to be fair, that this tendency can be said to have gotten started in 2002 when President Bush himself started using what are really theological terms and not political terms when he described his so-called axis of evil,
right,
consisting in 3 countries, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. Now, in political science terms, it's probably not wise to have done that. Now, first of all, evil refers to acts or actions. Is Iran evil because it's Iran? Is North Korea evil because it's North Korea? Is Iraq evil because it's Iraq? So, the use of language can be said in that sense to have been pretty inexact. We now know that even the things that Iraq was supposed to have been evil about, having weapons of mass destruction, turned out not to have been true. Iran's president, for his part, says that Iran does not harbor nuclear weapons, even though that is what he's being accused of.
By the way, Bush made a statement about Iran that we have not heard yet.
That's correct. Thank you for reminding me of that, Ivan.
The media just kept it quiet.
In Bush's speech Tuesday before the United Nations, he actually did make a very interesting statement about Iran that, interestingly enough, our media are calling almost no attention to, and so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
This is a quote from President Bush's speech on Tuesday before the United Nations General Assembly. He said, and I quote, "To the people of Iran, the United States respects you. We respect your country. We admire your rich history, your vibrant culture, and your many contributions to civilization. You deserve an opportunity to determine your own future, an economy that rewards your intelligence and your talents, and a society that allows you to fulfill your tremendous potential. The greatest obstacle to this future is that your rulers have chosen to deny you liberty and to use your nation's resources to fund terrorism and fuel extremism and pursue nuclear weapons. The United Nations has passed a clear resolution requiring that the regime in Tehran meet its international obligations. Iran must abandon its nuclear weapons ambitions. Despite what the regime tells you, we have no objection to Iran's pursuit of a truly peaceful nuclear power program.
Huh.
We're working toward a diplomatic solution to this crisis. As we do, we look to the day when you can live in freedom and America and Iran can be good friends and close partners in the cause of peace, unquote.
Which means that that's it. He will no longer go after Iran.
Well, up until now, the United States' pronouncements on Iran have never really said that Iran could pursue a peaceful nuclear program. Now, what does that mean? Well, a peaceful nuclear program includes the right to enrich uranium.
Huh.
Okay?
So he broke a deal with Iran already.
So that
Okay.
language is very different from anything a high official of the United States has been saying for months. I'm told that on mainstream TV, which I wouldn't watch if you paid me, that all they're saying is talking about when Iran is going to be bombed and when the attack is going to begin. But the language I just read you is highly inconsistent with an attack on Iran, and instead it is a recognition of their right to have a peaceful nuclear program. It's conciliatory language. True, he does refer to the leaders as wanting nuclear bombs, but it is a far cry from the rhetoric that we had been hearing up until that day. And for some reason, I gather there's been very little discussion about that language. Now, Ivan, you might want to ask me...
You know what?
What?
I want to stop you right there because you've been talking about the United Nations, but people don't really know who you are. And I believe that in the next 10 minutes, we need to talk about why you are talking about the United Nations, why that topic is such a passion for you.
Okay, well, thank you, Ivan. In my time, in my career, I have done a fair amount of international law, and I still do have part of my practice involves international law and very specific involvement with the United Nations. Now, if we could, I'd like to ask that we go through the next, I think it's about 7 or 8 slides. If we just go through them, each one for about 10 seconds each, and then I will comment on what the slides have, sort of demonstrated after they're done.
Okay. That's you right there?
Yes, that's me. I was, part of my work was as an attorney, very much involved in the oil industry in African countries.
Okay.
That, of course, is an actual oil platform. And then after that, I've been to a number of United Nations conferences speaking on various subjects. This is from Durban, South Africa in 2001. Now, as you see in that picture, if you recall, the very first slide that was in this series was taken, it was a slide that I took in Nigeria, and of fishermen in a boat that looked very much like that, except that in the first slide, the fishermen were just engaging in their fishing activity. at the Nigerian coast, just off of the Niger Delta region. And that is where a lot of oil in Nigeria is to be found. Now, my point was that the oil development in that area needed to be done in a way that would respect the interests of the fisher people in the area and also make sure that the wealth was shared. The point was, and the first one that I took was in 1987, and I said, the people here are not angry with us now and they're not demanding much from us. However, if over the years oil continues to be extracted from these areas and no benefit results to the local people, why sooner or later that is going to create a problem. So much of what the United Nations does focuses on development.
Right.
And for those countries that, particularly in Africa, that have oil, it is, I believe, a responsibility of the United Nations, as well as countries that are involved in the oil industries and the companies and that come from the countries that benefit from it, need to do so in a way that assures that development in the poorer, or what we call in the UN system, less developed countries, takes place. And that is a passion of mine right now, to make sure that the issue of development through the UN organizations and commissions and committees and bodies that are concerned with development know of both the extent of the problem, the likely consequences that will occur if the issue of fair and equitable development and the benefit from development does not occur.
Can I say something here? You made a prophecy in 1987.
Well, I wouldn't call it a prophecy, but the way I saw it and the way I expressed it at the time was literally, they are not angry with us now. They are satisfied with the way these contracts work. There's some benefit received. But it wasn't enough, because it needed to have tangible results. We needed to show that as a result of having that oil, that it resulted in benefit to people expressed in better housing, better health care, better education, better jobs, better living conditions. And that we had to be mindful of whether that was occurring or not.
Okay.
If it wasn't occurring, then it was a problem. Even if we could say, well, even if we looked at our contracts and said, well, we've done everything that our contract called for.
Okay.
No, more has to be done. And I think that's where we are today. That is the challenge facing the United Nations. The United Nations has the wherewithal and the capacity to do better. And it has to do better. And that is how this show has tied in with the show that you did on Darfur.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And let me say again, when you have Mr. Leapart here, please, you need to call your friends and your family. You need to listen, because this is a very intellectual African-American who is actually letting you know or bringing the facts to you. We have about 1 minute left, and I'm giving you 30 seconds to say your last, the last word. Well, yeah, to say the last word, and then I'll go ahead and announce what's going to happen next week.
Okay, there's so much more to cover on the United Nations. One thing that characterizes the United Nations is a lot of its programs are done through programs that have initials. And you can really get yourself wrapped up in what you might call initial soup in thinking about the United Nations.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Leapart.
Good to be here.
Okay, next week, the high school and assistant principal Tom Salem is going to be here because we went to Central Park to participate in the protest for Darfur. So you need to watch that. It's very important to watch that to see how Danbury is representing in this world affair. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for this education, and we will see you again soon.